Episode 4 of Doctor Who's The Chase is the sillier of the six, perhaps, even though the previous had that odd Alabaman man. Do you remember, was it South Park Season 3 that had that Alabama man, that action figure bit? Yeah, it was in Shin Pokemon. Anyway, that's a sidetrack. The episode 4 of The Chase features Dracula and Frankenstein's monster, and the Doctor believes it's this construct that exists wherein the figments of the human imagination go to just exist and spend the rest of their lives, but it turns out it may just be one of these amusement park, mechanical theme, haunted house attractions of some kind. Exciting stuff. Well, we get Dalek action, which is pretty cool. The Dalek up against the Frankenstein's monster is something we didn't expect to ever see or want to see, but, well, seeing it, it's something I'm glad is in my memory bank. At the end of this one is when the Daleks create their evil robot doctor, which is one of the most fun and amusing, a fantastic turn, one of the finer and impressive moments of William Hartnell's performance over the course of his run as the Doctor. But there is a lot to say here about the sets and design of this particular serial. Due to the variety of work required, set designers Raymond Cusick and John Wood both worked on The Chase. Cusick focused on the Daleks' time machine, the Mechanoid City, and the haunted house, while Wood concentrated on the Empire State Building and the Mary Celeste. For the designs of the Mechanoids, Cusick was inspired by the designs of Richard Buckminster Fuller. The expensive models, which used two 2-part fiberglass casings, were made by Shawcraft Models and completed in March 1965. Like the Daleks, they were designed to be controlled by a hidden operator inside the casing. Hartnell disliked the need to be precise of his movements around the props. The Mechanoids are too large to maintain after production. A Fungoid and the Maya Beast were kept, later appearing in a display at an exhibition in 1967. With production approaching, the crew noted that it needed to use for 2 Dalek props on loan to the Bellevue Zoo by early March. Daleks at a zoo? Huh, cool, I guess. They also inquired into loaning the 2 Daleks given to the Dr. Barnardo's home in Ilford, Essex. When Dr. Barnardo's indicated the props could only be used for a few days at the end of April, the crew decided to proceed without them. Other Dalek props were sourced from Ealing Studios and from original manufacturer Shawcraft Models in Uxbridge. At the time, another prop was on loan to a different BBC production, thought to be an episode of Hugh and I, Bun Fight, which aired on the 11th of April 1965. 4 of the Daleks owned by the BBC were refurbished, costing £118. Of this, the publicity department, which had been using the props extensively for promotional purposes, paid £100. Cusick disliked the modifications made on the Dalek casings by Spencer Chapman on the Dalek Invasion of Earth. Cusick redesigned the casings, removing the fenders and power dishes and adding shoulder slats to the midriff section. The Black Dalek Supreme from the Dalek Invasion of Earth was painted silver for the chase. Cusick also designed a lightweight prop referred to as a hover Dalek, which could appear to move rapidly over the sands. It was operated by Gerald Taylor. For the final shot of the first episode, Cusick and his team buried a Dalek in the sand and attached to it a Land Rover vehicle via rope. However, the casing did not rise through the sand, forcing the team to reconsider the effect. Cusick and Shawcraft Models ultimately built an 18-inch Dalek puppet operated from underneath. Cusick designed the Daleks' control room from pieces of sets from the Daleks and the Dalek Invasion of Earth. The Dalek ship in the third episode was populated by several Dalek props, including 3 unoccupied casings from the film Doctor Who and the Daleks, 1965. Martin contacted the film's writer and producer Milton Subotsky and asked to borrow some of the casings built for the movie, which had recently completed production. Subotsky offered Martin 8 Dalek props, but as they were noticeably different from their television counterparts, 3 were used in the background to populate the shots. The interior TARDIS rooms were designed from material originally designed by Cusick for The Edge of Destruction, 1964, with equipment bay elements from the Webb Planet. The time-space visualizer was constructed by Shawcraft Models and used a television monitor on which the footage was played. The TARDIS control room set was used for the visualizer sequence, though the console was not used due to size. The first episode marks the first time in Doctor Who that the TARDIS was seen in flight. The effect was achieved by mixing a kaleidoscope shot of stars with a shot of a 2-inch TARDIS model. The Maya Beast costume worn by Jack Pitt was constructed by freelance specialist props team father and son John and Jack Lovell. John researched similar creatures at the Natural History Museum, which led to the final orange costume made of sheet rubber. The Lovells also designed the rubber Fungoid costumes, which are nicknamed Fungoid Fred, Mushroom Malone and Toadstool Taffy. The establishing shot of the Iridian landscape was a photograph of the Kalahari Desert in Bechuana Land from Paul Popper Limited. while the shot of the Mechanist was a photograph of an Amazonian jungle from Fox Photos. The food being eaten by Barbara and Vicky in the third episode were Mars bars, 12 of which were purchased for production. The set for the ship in the third episode was large, with several levels. One of Martin's favourite parts of the serial, the ship used much of the budget. The nameplate of the ship was erroneously painted as Mary Celeste before being corrected to Marie Celeste before being corrected to Mary Celeste. I read that too quickly. Lambert was unsatisfied with the set of the Empire State Building. She complained to the design department's Barry Leroyd on the 26th of May and wrote, even bearing in mind the necessary economy because of the budget, this is pretty poor by any standards. Leroyd responded on the 9th of June, noting that the set looked satisfactory in the transmission, and clarifying that she had likely seen the set before its final tidying. Lambert conceded, but noted that the set only appeared satisfactory due to alteration in shots by Martin, who had placed the TARDIS in a different spot than planned to avoid showing too much of the set. The jungle set from the fifth episode, designed by Wood, used hanging houses to provide depth. Ivy, sea fern, and 12 bags of peat were used to dress the set. The floor was painted to appear marshy, aided by the actors' performances, but was flat to allow movement of the Dalek props. The paint had to be removed immediately after production. The prop used by Ian against the Fungoids was a tube with a battery-operated bulb at the end. The rooftop set in the final episode was raised off the studio floor, with a blown-up aerial shot of a jungle laid atop. The crew decided not to destroy the model of the Mechanoid city, as it burns in case of a later Mechanoid story. Instead, a cross-fading effect between shots of the model and stock footage of a volcanic eruption was used. Following the recording of the last episode, Martin wrote to Cusick and Wood to thank them for their work on the serial, crediting them for significantly contributing to any praise that the story would receive. I think that's all we need here. Tune in next time if you're so inclined to The Chase Part 5, here in our classic Doctor Who retrospective here on AOD.